I sat frozen in the bank office, the fluorescent lights above casting a harsh glow on the desk as my hands trembled, gripping the thick stack of statements. The bank representative, a middle-aged woman with a gentle yet firm voice, looked at me with sympathy. "We understand this is a shock, but these credit cards are all in your name, and the outstanding balance has reached $52,700. The payments have been overdue for 3 months. I blinked, trying to steady my breath. There must be a mistake. I only have one credit card and I hardly use it. She silently slid the documents toward me, her finger pointing at a series of signatures on the credit applications. "According to our records, your husband added you as an authorized user. These are your signatures on the applications." I stared at the handwriting on the paper. It looked like mine, but something was off. The strokes were too sharp, the signing motion too rushed, missing the familiarity of the thousands of times I had written my own name. A chilling sensation spread through me. "I never signed these forms," I whispered, my voice catching in my throat. The bank representative frowned, her expression shifting from sympathy to concern. "Then this may be a case of identity fraud. However, the issue is that, according to our records, many of these transactions were made from your home address. That means, under the law, you are still responsible for the debt." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Just 4 days ago, my husband, Ethan Parker, the man I had trusted completely, had packed his suitcase and disappeared from my life without a single explanation. He left no goodbye, no argument, no warning signs. Only a note on the kitchen counter. "I found someone who understands me better. Don't try to contact me. I'll handle the divorce paperwork." My mind spun. Ethan hadn't just left, he had abandoned me with a mountain of debt. The small house we had built together in the Seattle suburbs might no longer be mine. I swallowed hard, trying to maintain composure in front of the bank representative, but this reality was too overwhelming. As I drove away from the bank, my hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, my vision blurred with unshed tears. I couldn't fall apart. I still had Noah, my 11-year-old son, the only thing in my marriage that truly mattered. I couldn't let him lose his stability because of Ethan's reckless actions. My phone buzzed just as I stopped at a red light. A message from an unknown number. "Mia, this is Lauren. Ethan told me you were controlling with finances and wouldn't let him be free, but now I know the truth. If you want to know what he's really done, call me." Lauren. I shut my eyes, my heart pounding in my chest. The name Ethan had muttered in his sleep twice months ago. I had reassured myself that it meant nothing. I had convinced myself that I had nothing to worry about. I was wrong. I didn't call right away. I needed time to breathe, to process everything that had just happened. But one thing was clear. If Ethan had lied to me about money, this was only the tip of the iceberg. I drove home in tense silence, my mind racing. The message from Lauren still glowed on my screen, a warning of the secrets I had yet to uncover. I didn't respond immediately. Not because I didn't want to know the truth, but because I needed to gather myself before facing it. What Ethan had done was already cruel enough. I wasn't sure how much more I could take. As I stepped through the front door, I saw Noah sitting on the couch, eyes glued to his laptop screen, diligently finishing his homework. He looked up at me. "Mom, why are you home late?" I set my bag down on the table, forcing my voice to stay steady. "I had some things to take care of." Noah studied me for a long moment, his gaze too perceptive for his age. He could sense my tension. "Did Dad call you?" His question made me pause. I took a deep breath, then sat down next to him. "Dad is busy with his own things, but everything will be fine, don't worry." Noah didn't say anything else, he just nodded slightly. I knew he didn't fully believe me, but he also didn't want to push me further. After tucking Noah into bed, I sat at the kitchen table, my hands trembling as I picked up my phone and finally pressed the call button. The phone rang several times before a woman's voice answered. "Hello. It's me, Mia." There was a brief silence before Lauren responded. "I wasn't sure if you'd want to talk to me." I gripped the phone tightly. "I want to know the truth." Lauren sighed. "Ethan didn't just leave Mia, he had been planning this for a long time. I don't think he simply wanted a divorce. He wanted to make sure you couldn't stand on your own after the marriage." A cold shiver ran down my spine. "What do you mean?" "He told me you refused to work, spent recklessly, and controlled all the finances. I believed him. But recently I started noticing things that didn't add up." I clenched my fists. "What did you find?" Lauren hesitated before answering, her voice shaking. I found his financial documents. Ethan has been withdrawing money from your joint savings account for months. He also has a secret account that you might not be aware of. I froze. My whole body felt numb. I closed my eyes, trying to suppress the panic rising inside me. Lauren continued, and he also took out a loan using your house, Mia. My eyes flew open. What did you just say? A second mortgage. Around $35,000. I don't know exactly what he spent it on, but I found cash withdrawal receipts. The money is gone. No. This couldn't be happening. I shot up from my chair, my heart pounding. Ethan had taken out a loan against my house without me knowing. But how was that even possible? I never signed any documents for such a loan. I can send you copies of what I found, Lauren said, her voice filled with regret. I know I trusted the wrong person. And I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. Anger surged through me, but so did fear. If Ethan had planned this for months, I had only uncovered the tip of the iceberg. I ended the call with Lauren and immediately opened my laptop, logging into our joint bank account, and just as she had said, our savings were completely wiped out. A suspicious transaction stood out in the statement. Internal transfer. $35,000. I checked our other accounts and made an even more horrifying discovery. Ethan had changed my contact information with the bank. My phone number was no longer linked to our account, meaning I hadn't received any alerts about these changes. I nearly threw my phone on the table in frustration. Ethan hadn't just left. He had erased everything before walking away. I needed help. I picked up my phone and searched for a contact I hadn't called in years. Jessica Carter. Jessica had been my best friend in college, but after I married Ethan, she gradually disappeared from my life, not because she wanted to, but because Ethan made sure I stayed away from anyone he didn't approve of. I hesitated for a moment, then pressed the call button. Hello? I took a deep breath. Jess, it's me, Mia. A brief silence, then Jessica's voice, filled with surprise. Mia? What's going on? Are you okay? I felt tears sting my eyes. No. I'm not okay at all. I didn't need to explain much. Jessica immediately understood that I was in serious trouble. Where are you? I'm coming over. I glanced out the window, the darkness swallowing the quiet neighborhood. Ethan had cut me off from everyone, but now, I was slowly reclaiming those connections. This time, I wouldn't let anyone manipulate me again. I woke up in the middle of the night, a heavy weight pressing on my chest as if a boulder was crushing me. Since discovering what Ethan had done, I hadn't had a single restful night. My phone screen lit up, a new email from Ethan. We both know you can't handle this debt alone. I'm willing to leave the house to you, as long as you take full responsibility for the loans and credit cards. Think carefully. This is your only chance at a fresh start without legal disputes. I'll have my lawyer send over the paperwork soon. I clenched my phone, fury burning through me like fire. A fresh start? Did he really think I would accept all the debt so he could walk away without consequences and start his new life? I immediately forwarded the email to Jessica, who had helped me connect with a family lawyer, Michael Carter, her husband. Less than 10 minutes later, Michael called me. This is a classic coercion tactic, he said, his voice deep and firm. Ethan knows you're desperate and wants to pressure you into accepting an unfair deal. Don't respond, we'll gather evidence against him. I took a deep breath, feeling grateful that at least I wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, I went to the bank to check the status of my home mortgage. When the bank employee pulled up my file, I noticed hesitation in her eyes. I'm sorry, Mr. Parker, she said hesitantly. Your account has been marked as delinquent for the secondary mortgage loan. If the payment isn't made within 30 days, the property may be foreclosed. I froze. But I had no knowledge of this loan. I never signed any paperwork. She flipped through the file and pointed to a document with my signature. But that wasn't my signature. My hands turned cold. Ethan had forged my signature to take out a loan using my house. And now, that loan was pushing me to the brink of losing everything. As I left the bank, my phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. Stop now, Mia. If you don't, you won't just lose your house, you'll lose everything. I stood frozen. Ethan. He knew I was investigating and had started threatening me. I immediately called Michael. Ethan just sent me a threatening text. He's trying to scare me into stopping the investigation. Michael was silent for a moment before saying, "Good. That means you're hitting his weak spot. We'll use Ethan's desperation and panic against him." Michael helped me connect with a handwriting expert. After a few days of analysis, the conclusion was clear. The signature on the mortgage loan was forged. That meant the loan could be canceled, and Ethan could be held legally responsible. We also discovered a critical mistake on Ethan's part. When reviewing the bank's security footage from the day the mortgage agreement was signed, there was no record of me being there. This meant someone had impersonated me to complete the transaction. Michael filed a lawsuit against Ethan for financial document forgery, while also petitioning the bank to freeze the mortgage account to prevent foreclosure. Meanwhile, Noah had been quietly doing something that moved me beyond words. My son didn't want me to face all of this alone. He had spoken to his teacher, Ms. Harper, about our situation, and within a week I realized I wasn't as alone as I had once believed. Neighbors began stopping by, bringing homemade meals and offering to watch Noah while I handled legal matters. Former colleagues from the dental clinic sent emails offering me a full-time job and promising to help me find new opportunities if needed. Even a group of parents from Noah's school pooled together a small donation to help cover my legal expenses. I couldn't believe it. Throughout my marriage, Ethan had convinced me that I had no one but him, that I wasn't capable of standing on my own. But now, I saw the truth. That had never been real. I had a community, a network of people who were ready to help me get back on my feet. And I wasn't going to let Ethan destroy me ever again. When Ethan learned I had uncovered proof of the forged signature, he sent another email. "Mia, you're making this a bigger issue than it needs to be. If you drop the lawsuit, I may consider providing financial support for you and Noah. If not, you won't get a single cent." I scoffed. Did Ethan really think he could still manipulate me? I didn't reply. I simply forwarded the email to my lawyer. 3 days later, the police contacted me to confirm details about the case. They had opened a formal investigation. I knew then that Ethan wouldn't get away with this so easily, and this time, I was the one in control. My phone rang early in the morning as I stood in the kitchen preparing breakfast for Noah. I glanced at the screen and my heart pounded. "Ethan." I set the butter knife down, took a deep breath, and answered. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice emotionless. There was a brief silence before his voice came through, more frantic than I had ever heard before. "Mia, I need your help." I smirked, having predicted this exact moment. "Help you? After everything you've done?" Ethan swallowed hard. "The bank has frozen my accounts. They're investigating the fraudulent mortgage, and if they determine I'm guilty, I could—" He hesitated, his voice dropping as if afraid to acknowledge the consequences. "I could lose everything." I crossed my arms, leaning against the kitchen counter. "And you think I'm going to help you get out of this?" "Mia, you know I didn't mean for this to happen. I was under financial pressure and—" I cut him off. "Didn't mean for this to happen? You planned every step, forged my signature, drained our joint account without a word. You even tried to force me to take on all the debt so you could walk away without any responsibility." Ethan fell silent, perhaps for the first time realizing that I was no longer the woman he could manipulate. I let the silence stretch for a few seconds before I spoke calmly. "You should meet me tonight, 7 o'clock. Ethan hesitated. "What is this about?" I smiled, a smile he couldn't see through the phone but could certainly feel. "Just a conversation. I think it's time you saw everything clearly." He wavered, but in the end he agreed. That evening I sat on the couch, watching the clock. 6:55 p.m. Noah sat beside me, his face filled with anticipation. "Mom, are you sure Dad is coming?" I nodded. He has no other choice. The front door opened and Jessica walked in, followed by Michael, my lawyer. Miss Harper, Noah's teacher, arrived carrying a folder of documents. My neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, who had been supporting me throughout this ordeal, took their seats. Not long after, the doorbell rang. I got up to answer it. Ethan stood there, his eyes scanning me before darting inside. When he saw the number of people gathered in the living room, his face paled. I tilted my head and gestured for him to come in. "Come in, Ethan." He stepped inside cautiously. As the door shut behind him, I noticed his clenched fists, as if trying to keep his emotions in check. "What is this?" he asked, glancing around the room. Noah stepped forward, holding a sheet of paper he had drawn and extending it toward Ethan. "Do you know what this is, Dad?" Ethan looked down. It was a connection diagram, with my name and Noah's at the center, surrounded by lines connecting to the people in the room: his teacher, our neighbors, my lawyer, my friends. A support system Ethan had never anticipated. Noah spoke with unwavering confidence. "You tried to make Mom believe she had no one, but you were wrong." Ethan swallowed hard, his eyes still fixed on the paper. I stepped beside my son, my voice steady but firm. "I believed you when you said I couldn't survive on my own. I believed that I needed you. But now, I know the truth. I have a network of people who care about me and my son. And you're just the past." Michael stepped forward, placing a folder of legal documents on the table. "We've gathered enough evidence of signature forgery, financial fraud, and deliberate financial deception against Mia. The bank's investigation will conclude soon, and I believe you'll be receiving a court summons very shortly." Ethan took a step back. "Mia, you don't have to do this." I crossed my arms, meeting his gaze. "I'm not doing anything. This is the consequence of your actions." Ethan looked around as if searching for an ally, but every gaze in the room was directed at me, filled with unwavering support. Finally he exhaled sharply, defeat evident on his face. "I just wanted another chance." I shook my head. "You had your chance, and you threw it away." Ethan had nothing left to say. He turned and walked toward the door. As he stepped across the threshold, I knew this was the last time I would ever let him have power over my life. After Ethan left, I turned to the people around me. Jessica hugged me, Michael nodded in approval, and Noah squeezed my hand tightly. Miss Harper placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Mia, you did something that so many in your situation are too afraid to do. You took your life back." I looked down at Noah and saw the pride shining in his eyes. "We're going to be okay, sweetheart," I whispered. Noah smiled. "I know, Mom." And I knew it too. We were no longer alone. We had a community, a strong support system, and most importantly, we had each other. I once thought Ethan was my whole world, but now I understood that my world was so much bigger. A world where I was free, loved, and no longer afraid. My journey wasn't over, but at least now I knew I was the one in control. Mia's story is more than just a personal tale of financial betrayal. It's a powerful testament to the strength of resilience and community. In reality, many people find themselves in similar situations, manipulated, isolated, and left to bear unfair burdens. But as Mia has shown, no one is truly alone if they reach out to those willing to help. Friendship, support, and determination can help someone stand up, reclaim their life, and start again, stronger than ever. What do you think of Mia's story? Have you ever faced a similar situation, or do you have thoughts on how she handled it? Share your opinions in the comments. Don't forget to follow the channel for more inspiring and meaningful stories about family life.